All right, we're going to go ahead and jump in, everybody. So thanks for joining us. This is the Feed Factor, eCom Growth Tactics. We're going to go ahead and jump right in.
All right, can we get the notes a little bigger, please? Yeah, just working out some technical kinks here on our end. We're joining you from our office in the historic Third Ward of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So thanks everyone for being here. Just a quick background. I know a number of you are friends and clients, but if you're watching this for the first time, we're Granular. I founded the agency in 2014. Prior to that, I worked at a number of brand side jobs and worked for some other agencies. We handle a lot of different verticals and digital performance marketing channels for our clients, but today we're talking about e-commerce. So I started my e-commerce ad journey back in 2007. I was working for a B2B e-com company on the north side of Milwaukee. They were way ahead of the curve. They were shifting from a catalog only and sales staff driven company to the internet. And I got to handle pretty much everything there, from advertising to merchandising to product descriptions, photography, everything that kind of powered the e-commerce website journey I was involved in. The warehouse, the shipping, everything was right there. So it was a very cool experience and really got me into this space and had a good appreciation for it. So that's 18 years. So my experience is old enough to vote. The wild thing about that is there were no shopping ads back then. So the main thing we're talking about today is the e-commerce product feed, and that didn't exist. So we're pretty much running regular paid search, text ads to an e-commerce website. But then as I moved on through my career, it was 2011 at Best Buy, and we got tipped off from our Google reps that there was this new product coming out that was called Google Shopping Ads. So we worked very hard to spin that up, and we're some of the first kind of early adopters with Google Shopping, and really got to learn, what Google prefers, how they want it set up, the very technical back end side of this with an enterprise website and how to run it properly. So fast forward to now, Granular, like I said, we're in a lot of verticals, but we are one of the top e-commerce shops, e-commerce agencies in America, and we help a lot of people around the country sell things online.
All right, just a quick rundown of our agenda. I realized I didn't introduce myself, by the way. So Steve Kroll, president here at Granular. So we're going to cover a bunch of stuff here. We're going to talk about why do product feeds matter. Jordan kind of alluded to this in his intro, how that affects the return on ad spend and just overall quality site traffic. What can you do about your feed? You get it off the shelf from your e-com platform. What are some things you can do to really make it sing with your campaigns? Platform and tool recommendations, and then some real world case studies. All right, so why e-com matters more than ever. I would imagine if you're on this webinar, you run an e-commerce business, you are engaged in it, or you have some exposure, maybe a client, friend, or family member who's in it. So you know why e-commerce matters, but when we're talking specifically about the product feed, according to McKinsey, 70% of purchase decisions start with a product feed. So simply put, if your data is off, your sales are too. Got a title that is a bad title, you're using something off the shelf, or it's not properly optimized, that's going to decrease the efficiency of your advertising. You don't have a feed that's structured, you're going to have irrelevant traffic coming in, or even worse, you're not going to have traffic coming in.
Right. So the product feed is critical to e-commerce performance. There is some kind of automatic website scraping growing with some of the ad platforms to run some of these ads, but the manual feed optimization is the real deal. That's how you really generate the performance anyone running these websites needs. So as Steve mentioned with his McKinsey stat, feeds drive a lot of performance, and it's not just Google Shopping. It's Amazon, eBay, Pinterest, Walmart, Meta. Like there's so many platforms that are kind of powered by shopping feeds that it's really critical to get these right. So we're going to talk, primarily about Google, but that is one of the best places to start to build your feed. And if Google's happy with the feed, most other platforms will be as well. There's a couple iterations here and there, but that's more technical than you probably have to worry about. Just know that, high quality feed in Google typically makes the other platforms happy. And that's kind of who they built it off of and copied anyways. So this is distilling it quite a bit. There's a bunch of aspects to this, but essentially what a poor feed looks like: generic title, that's straight from your ERP or your inventory management system. Missing data, we've seen so many aspects of missing details on details about those products and how they should be entered. And then, bad product image, this all equals missing high intent traffic. When somebody's doing a high intent search for a product they're looking to buy, you're going to not show up in as many of those auctions as you would with a higher quality feed. And that's ultimately, low return on ad spend. So a great feed has very good structured data, keyword rich and optimized titles, high quality product photo, potentially shot in-house, not just what you get from the manufacturer. And you're gonna be able to dominate the SERP, the search engine result page, that way, and it's gonna lead to more conversions. So there are over 150 attributes that go into the Google Shopping feed, and think of it like your ERP system data or your inventory data. Like there's a lot of data on the back end that you need to run the business, and Google needs a lot of that same data. So that's typically where these product feeds originate from. And then on top of that, some that data can work, but oftentimes it needs massaged and optimized a little bit more for you to get the best results in Google. So just like your logo, your website homepage, or really any ad, the first impression is really crucial with shopping ads. So when somebody does a search looking to buy the product, you're not going to match that intent to buy. So you have to stand out amongst all the other shopping ads. We all know Google continues to kind of flood that SERP with more and more shopping results, more and more ads. So you need to stand out, and that snap decision is going to really determine if you're getting clicked or not. So in addition to all of the attributes that you have to fill out, or we fill out, or manage and optimize for our clients, Google Merchant Center, where this feed kind of lives and is optimized and finally kind of controls the serving on Google's backend, they also have settings and options that enhance the listing and make it more useful and more attractive to the end user. And there's a reason for those. So you got to use them. When Google or another platform releases a feature, especially with shopping ads, there's a reason for that. They think it's important. They make money based on how many people click on the ad. So a feature that they release is most likely going to increase the clicks and therefore increase money for them. So if you're not on top of those trends, you're not updating your feed, you're not updating and paying attention to your Google Merchant Center, you can fall behind. So you want to be a first mover and stand out compared to competitors who might be asleep at the wheel. So this is a real world example, searching for an Air Jordan shoe, specific one. I knew what I was looking for. But this example shows how different they can be. These people are selling, this isn't Nike advertising it. These are two distributors, these are two resellers. One optimized their feed and optimized their merchant center account. The other just kind of threw it out there. So it's not only the low price that wins either. So you may run into map pricing issues, right? Like you can't always put it on sale. But you can see how big of a difference 92 cents makes in this listing. They get the 7% off highlight. Their original price is crossed out. Their new price is green. On top of that, though, they did opt in to get the ratings shown. They included a promo code, and they did optimize the title to drop the Air part because most people search for Jordans and not Air Jordans. So these people are paying attention. They're optimizing. This is kind of a good example versus a bad example in the real world. So here's a couple lists. These are really just some of the main best practices. And I'm not going to get too technical on this webinar. We've been on podcasts where we deep dive into all the technical aspects of this, but that's not what this is for. We're here to help if you need it, so just reach out. These really help with SERP visibility factors. So keyword-rich titles, descriptions, the product type, that's a super technical aspect of this. Google has just a ton of categories that have trees kind of breaking down, getting more granular and specific. And those matter for SERP visibility. And then on top of that, there's also profitability levers that you can pull that are more functional in the ad platform. So if you think of this in two ways, the first kind of three checklist best practices on the left, that's for Google. That's to rank better, to impact the search result page. The last one there, custom labels, that's primarily for how we operate in Google Ads. So we can put a custom label. You can do whatever you want. So we can sort basically all of your inventory, working closely with our clients. We determine, what are some of the best sellers? What are you the low price leader on? What's, higher price but high margin for you? Which has your best shipping? Which inventory do you want to move? Seasonality. There's a bunch of stuff that we can collaborate with and put in that feed. And then we use those to build out campaigns and control campaigns. So that's the way we can really affect the outcomes of your overall advertising strategy. And then on the right, there's just some additional kind of shopping feed checklists, some of the top ones that you really want to make sure that you're on top of.
All right, and then we're just trying to include some examples where we've been able to step in at different stages of the process with e-commerce companies that where we've been able to do some different things with their shopping feed as like a main leverage point. So Shurhold, we came to them at an interesting time. They were a small business that really was in that transition phase of looking to go mid-market, so still privately held, owner operated, but they had been heavily reliant on selling through distributors, a big retail distributor, actually with a big physical retail footprint, and almost all of their online sales that Shurhold were making were coming through Amazon through this partner. And so they were trying to figure out what role should their website play. They'd kind of treated it previously as kind of the official site. You could get information about the product, but they kind of leaned on their partners who are selling their products to handle that side of things. And so we had to figure out how we were going to help them when they re-platform, take their shopping feed that they had out of their platform, bring it into Merchant Center, and then deploy that across shopping results on Google, on Meta, figure out how to segment, across their catalog. They didn't want all of their products showing up at all times. So the way we had to segment those campaigns and drive visibility, and, being a small, privately held business, again, that was growing in aspirations. They were still very cash conscious, and they just weren't gonna, be unprofitable with every transaction was driven. And so the things we were able to do with the shopping feed really enable us to make sure that we could drive profitable conversions. And if we were just using, actually, we had inherited, there was a predecessor to Granular that had tried to do some different things, but they didn't really, from our vantage point, they didn't really have a lot of knowledge of Google Merchant Center. So it was a real shot in the arm for the business. So that was awesome. And as far as the data, we talked at the start of this about how important it was to drive traffic from shopping, and really this is powered by the feed. You're almost having a 200% increase in clicks, and again, these are not just broad traffic. This is very high intent, mid to bottom funnel. Those improvements we were able to make with the shopping feed, with those different attributes Jordan referenced, we're talking 27% increase in click-through rate and a 35% increase in purchases. So it wasn't just vanity metrics, actual business impact for them. We don't go into, obviously, the actual revenue here, but you can imagine what this would be like in your business if you saw this sort of impact.
Cool. Thanks, Steve. So as mentioned at the top, we're going to talk a little bit about the tools and the technology that you work with for your website. So we'll talk a little bit about website and CMS platform impacts on the feed and subsequently on shopping ads. So just like fashion or food, everyone has their preferences, everyone has their taste, and these are more tools for your business, and there's going to be specific reasons that you use any of these. So the big thing with our presentation today is that the CMS and the website platform really affects your feed, and there's some great out-of-the-box options that you all are probably using already. Or if you have a custom built website, that's fine too. We've done that a number of times. It's possible to generate the feed and run shopping ads, but we're not here to tell you to re-platform. You most likely have gone through this at least once already, and just know that that's a huge decision, and whatever you pick, we can work with. And a big part of that is because there are really good standalone feed management tools. So while a lot of these website platforms have apps or plugins, or maybe it's built in natively, it's usually not, plugins to help run or generate the feed and run ads. These are some really good standalone feed tools that we use or have used for our clients in the past. So while native ads are pretty easy to install, they're native, that's what they're called that for a reason. They typically can lack some flexibility, customization, optimization capabilities needed to be really competitive with performance. Sometimes you're locked into kind of what's shown on the website product detail page, and that's not always the ideal title for shopping results. So third-party feed tools really offer an advantage of mapping the products, rule logic, channel-specific enhancements. So you can really use one of these tools and just start with kind of your biggest channel like Google, and then you can create iterations that work in Meta, in Pinterest, and Amazon, whatever it may be. So it makes that a lot easier. And then we think it's really critical for kind of maximizing visibility in the auction, reducing disapprovals, and it really helps you scale. So just a quick hit on these specific ones that I'm showing. Feedonomics, typically touted as more enterprise level. Go data feed, easy use tool, great for creating and syncing feeds. I mean, they all pretty much do the same thing. They each have their own flavor and pricing. And then Data Feed Watch, good multi-channel support, agency support, which is nice. And then Symbiosis, optimized for Shopify. But again, easy to use, good for D2C brands. Our overall pick is, not giving away our secret sauce, is Go Data Feed. It's cheap, it's easy to use. It really gets the job done and gives us the control to optimize the way that you should optimize. You want to have that control. Now, there are a couple out there, a couple of these solutions that offer a managed service, and that's essentially doing what we do, but because it's coming from them, it seems more specialized. We've actually seen some nightmares and had to be hands-on with helping people through that onboarding process even. And it's just an added expense that I don't think is really needed. If you're just kind of on your own, you don't have an agency like us, maybe that makes sense to get started, but I do think it's an inflated cost that isn't totally necessary. So, with the managed service, like I kind of mentioned, like we helped a large retailer onboard a managed service, and we really had to jump in and fix it multiple times. You don't always get what you pay for. Their customer service reps aren't necessarily paid search experts. They're kind of reading the help documentation as you go along. So, just because you can sign up for a good tool or a strong tool doesn't mean that's a reason to do it yourself. And that's something that we actually manage for the clients without charging extra for. If we do install Go Data Feed or another solution, that's just a pass-through cost. We don't mark that up or make money off of that. That's just something that we know is necessary for driving your best performance.
Yeah, and an example of a company that we helped was actually one of the largest independent retailers online of beauty equipment for salons, spas, barbershops. And they had been a long time Magento partner because of the back end point of sales. They used all the different features with Magento. This is a business that was started in the mid-aughts, and they had just really stuck with it. I think a lot of people who have been involved in ecom for a while looked at what was happening with Shopify and maybe had some challenges with the pricing model, or it didn't quite do all the customization that they need. So this client is a perfect example. One of the downsides that came with Magento over time with this client, but also just anyone who'd used the platform, especially this accelerated when they got acquired by Adobe, was all of the things that needed to happen with the product feed to get it out of the back end of the site into Merchant Center and to have all of those characteristics and attributes Jordon talked about. These became things where hey, that's an added charge, that's a change fee. Adobe's trying to sell these hours on things, and so it became a nightmare situation where there'd be really obvious things that this client wanted to be able to do to represent their products in the feed that they couldn't do. So being able to use a third-party tool enabled us to basically say, all right, well, we're able to get in the feed, ingest it, and then output it the way that we want to. And again, this is happening at the same time that Performance Max was these smart shopping campaigns had upgraded to Performance Max, and we've got a section later on that talks about that. And if you don't have something in place and you're just relying on Google, Performance Max campaign connecting to, Merchant Center to output things, you could have some really embarrassing, bad looking ad units out there. So it was a key part of our success that we had with the client. And so, yeah, what we were able to do with them. So we were able to have a massive increase in return on ad spend, huge increase in revenue, kind of all the things that you want to have happen, right? Revenue up, spend down, and a big part of that is, again, the increase in click-through rate, by making sure for all these different queries that would trigger shopping results, have a really good looking image that with the great title, with these different attributes that you want. So, we're going after the right traffic. Ads are getting clicked through at a higher rate because it's the right type of traffic. It's converting at a higher rate, and just real thoughtful management of these campaigns meant that we're just reducing this wasted spend. So a really great example of what we're able to do there. So, we talked about, the product feeds, why they're important, and Jordon went into, some different tools and solutions based on your context and kind of what we've seen. So we're going to talk about, there's a strong desire to kind of get into the tactics, but if we take this up a level and, shopping, right? It's like, hey, I only want to show up for people right at the bottom of the funnel where it's the highest intent. I don't want to bid on anything that's, higher funnel. Well, higher funnel doesn't also just have to mean you're bidding on really irrelevant search traffic, or you're running display advertising on below the fold, really irrelevant websites. It's across all inventory types, and you have to think about the user journey. So if you're just relying on your advertising where you've got kind of new and existing customers, together, you're bidding on brand that's all bundled together, your numbers can look really good, your conversion rates looking good, but you don't want it to look too good because you're going to be shrinking your overall revenue over time. So you need to balance, what we do with our clients, the ones who really get it, is you got to balance prospecting, going after new customers, and then integrating that retargeting for scalable growth. So, it's the feed, but we have, we really think about the audience. We think about the messaging and the timing. Co-op dollars, a number of you likely, have those dollars, or maybe you don't have those dollars. You had them at one time. Those are kind of taken away from you. Well, we've had a lot of success being able to, go to those clients where, they had those co-op dollars, or they have a certain bundle of them, and we're able to, pull together some nice data, showcase, hey, here's how we're highlighting our clients, the partners that they're promoting, and what it looks like in a Google search result, what it looks like in a Meta carousel ad where we're pulling in the catalog, and we're able to get them more dollars. As an e-commerce company, every bit of dollar, every dollar that you can get that can drive a user to your site that you're not having to fund, you're able to get them in. That's first party data that you have. Something that is really key too is just thinking about segmentation. So making sure, whether that's, by, geography, so regions of the country, specific product category, first time versus repeat buyers, there's so many different things that, from a tactical standpoint, yes, you can do with, labeling in your feed and campaigns, but just, thinking about it just overall, instead of taking, one shopping campaign, one budget, and then just letting it rip with, maximize conversions, really thinking through the segmentation so that way your dollar can go further. So this is a perfect example with some nice visuals here, just showing how this works. I'm a big fan of McFlurry with Oreo cookies. That's a winning combination there. So yeah, this just shows some real practical examples of segmentation, how that works. So if you're not doing this, if it's something where you've had his idea, or maybe you've done a test and it hasn't worked out well, there's a good chance that the test wasn't constructed properly, the way that things were organized with your campaigns weren't set up properly. More than happy to take a look under the hood and let you know what's going on there. And then, yeah, we've, again, keeping with the theme of clients that we've been able to help. So this one is Stan Shoes. They're third generation brick and mortar and online retailers. So they sell through the website, they sell through the retail environment, they also sell through Amazon. And when they come to us, we're an organization in transition. So they, had a website. They were on WooCommerce, and they had been running some Google ads. They had a Google Merchant Center. They had some shopping campaigns there. They had one of these partners who was kind of doing lots of things for them. They're doing SEO, they're doing their website, they're doing the paid ads. And the team there who operated this business knew, hey, we know that there's a lot that we don't know, but this isn't a right fit. So, they went through a whole process of trying to find some different partners, and they found Granular. And we were able to, again, similar to the previous examples, look at, this product feed they had there. This is, one of the country's top, sellers of New Balance shoes. They, were one of the first retailers to bring, On shoes, Hoka shoes, a lot of these brands into southeastern Wisconsin, into this market. So they have some real hero brands, but if you looked at their shopping feed, they would do all these searches and they just wouldn't see their ad show up. So it was like, all right, we have all this inventory. People desire these shoes. Why is our ad not showing up? Why, when it does show up, does it not look the way that we want to? So we applied our Google Ads knowledge, combined it with, really understanding Google Merchant Center, the product feed, having to use a third-party tool. In this case, WooCommerce, that's WordPress's e-commerce solution, had lots of challenges with how it output the feed natively. So huge, there was definitely a lift, but major business impact. So we saw a huge increase in return on ad spend, and again, similar to kind of what's been mentioned before, kind of a real hockey stick growth increase in revenue. And, these numbers have continued to improve, every single year. If you go to the Granular website, our results page, you can actually see one of the principals of Stan's talking about their experience working with our team. So if you're looking for more details on how that actually worked for their business.
All right. Thanks for hanging with us. We're at the home stretch. So just got a couple more thick slides for you, and then we'll let you go. But so we just want to hit on some of the common feed mistakes that we see. We take over a ton of accounts. Like, that's what Granular is known for. It's getting deeper, driving better results, improving things that were most likely run by other folks, other agencies in the past. So number one, just incorrect or outdated product groups. So a lot of times with that, ads might not actually be serving, especially if it's outdated or mismatched data. So Google will flag that and shut it down. They're all about matching intent with relevance and giving a good experience to the user who searches for something in their search engine. They don't want to send them to a product that is out of stock, or a product that is the wrong color, or that page doesn't even exist anymore. So they're very stringent on data quality, and that can really make a huge impact. So number two, the data feed doesn't match the website. Again, Google's going to potentially shut your feed down, or shut that part of it down, not serve your ads as often, because they're seeing that your product isn't matching up with what you say. And this is actually something that happens a lot. Like if you're not tying your feed, your product feed correctly and quickly enough to your website, Google does a lot of random crawls and they'll see that your feed doesn't match, even if it's by like a cent or 2 cents. They will say, nope, that doesn't match. Or if you say something about free shipping and you get to the site and it's not free shipping, or there's a huge hurdle to cross in order to get it, they're going to shut it down. They're very smart, and it really does protect the consumer from kind of bait or switch or false advertising. So that's great, but we see it often. One of the craziest things that we've seen was a custom-made website that took the price to the decimal of like the 10,000th. And that was in the feed, and the site looked like a normal price, but Google always saw that as a mismatch. So we went through a huge process with the IT and the website owners of this client, and had to basically like redo how the website spit out the data. So Google's stringent on that. Number three, just seeing an old supplemental feed that causes silent changes kind of behind the scenes. So this is a technical thing, but supplemental feeds can get layered onto your main feed to improve it and optimize it. And oftentimes that's because your CMS has limitations. Like I mentioned earlier, if the title that's on your PDP has to go into your feed, that's not ideal most of the time. So we will typically build a supplemental feed to edit that and optimize it. But we've seen people just forget about supplemental feeds or forget about rules that they have applied to the feeds, and those cost changes cause issues. So it's good to have somebody on top of it. Number four, poor titles, either generic or missing the brand or missing the specs. Again, we've seen so many people just take the feed from their ERP, or they load products to the website straight from the manufacturer. My first e-commerce job, I got so many spreadsheets from the manufacturer, and I found so much data that was missing, dimensions, weight, shipping weight, attributes as simple as color or finish, or gender. Like all those things matter, and those can really impact your performance. Number five, product suppression due to missing data. So if you try to upload a feed and it doesn't have some of the really important specs that Google needs, they'll just suppress it. They just won't show it. So that's important. And then number six is auto-applied ad promotions from your website. This is fairly new, I think less than a year old, but Google's rolling out more and more stuff in Google Merchant Center that you need to pay attention to or have somebody pay attention to, like us. So Google is, because they see most people don't pay as close attention as we do to like feed health and optimization and promos, somebody on their team invented a thing that will look at all of your sale emails and promotional emails that you send out to clients, and they'll also scrape your social profiles to see if you have a sale or a promo going, and then they'll just apply it to everything. And oftentimes, you might only be offering free shipping on one brand or one style or one part of your business, or whatever that promo is, 10% off XYZ. And we've seen it multiple times. They'll just apply it to your whole feed. So that's a toggle switch that is automatically on. So you want to check that, make sure it's off, or at least you know about it and it's under control. Some feed settings that should always be on, just always link Google Merchant Center to Google Ads and Google Business Profile. Double check your business info within that, especially sales tax, shipping, return information and your return policies, Google does look at that, they crawl it. So if you update your website and the URL of your shipping policy moved or your return policy and it mismatches Merchant Center, that could flag your whole system. That could flag your whole account. So it's good to be in sync with your agency or with the people that manage your feed and your Google Merchant Center to make sure that everything's in sync and up to date. Automatic improvements, we typically like to turn these on. It helps with availability, price, condition. That will pull some information from your website or automatically update as it sees it happen, which can prevent some errors. And then opt into free listings. Again, this is not typically always on. I think Google probably lost a lawsuit a couple of years ago and introduced the free shopping results. And you can essentially have a Google shopping ad, even though it's not technically an ad, it's in the organic listings below the ad for free. So studies have shown typically between 1 and 5%, but I rounded up. So 2 to 5% additional traffic, potentially incremental from the shopping tab, from YouTube. If there's a relevant video that mentions a product that you sell, might show up for free. So opt into that. It's a no-brainer. And then just some alerts to set up, and we typically have all these come to us. So clients don't have to worry about it, but product protection alerts, that'll delay removal of your product or flagging and shutting down your feed if you have an issue. So that's an important one. And then email preferences, just like set all of those up, we get all the data sent to us through email for account health alerts, product data alerts. It'll tell you like how many products are flagged or disapproved or enabled or need reviewed. Just a good way to keep track of your data and health. We're not into too many Google Ads tactics in this presentation, but one of the most common mistakes we see is throwing your whole feed into Performance Max, like one campaign. That will just let Google kind of run wild with what they want to serve clicks for. We strongly suggest, segmenting that, reviewing the listing groups carefully and filtering out to maintain control and control of serving and control of cost and control of every downstream KPI out there that's related to performance. So it's important not to just have just one like everything campaign. That's something we see a lot. And then finally for me, this is kind of a weird one, but a lot of people don't know where their feed is coming from or how it's built. And it's just a really important thing to understand. Is it coming from your website? Are there feed plugins? Is it coming from a spreadsheet? Are you are you FTPing it directly? Is there a supplemental feed that lives in a Google Sheet that somebody else has access to or an old employee owns? And now you can't get access to it. Like there's a lot of issues that can come up with this in general. So you need to know where your feed is, how it's updated, and really every aspect of that. So, back in the day, most feeds were manual and Google forced you to re-upload that feed every 30 days. So we would wait, 29 days and do that. But nowadays, a lot of things are automated and people just kind of set it and forget it. And time can go by and your data decays, things change, you miss opportunities to optimize or you miss opportunities to enable or disable something in Merchant Center. So just keep an eye on it.
All right, recap. So you obviously just sat through this, so this is all fresh, but just to remind you, so your feed is not just something that you need in order to run ads. You check the box and hey, it's out there. It is a real key leverage point for your e-commerce business. It's got to be the foundation that you use to build your profitable shopping campaigns off of. You could have the best most well-architected campaigns, and you could, have a healthy budget, but if you have issues with your feed, you're going to be limited. So it's super high priority. The platform choice really affects the optimization. So again, if you're on BigCommerce, you're using NetSuite Commerce, you're using Salesforce Cloud Commerce, you're using Shopify. There's going to be different pros and cons where we make these advisements all the time, and we've worked with all these different solutions. So if you have questions, please definitely reach out to us, because we're going to have an opinion that's informed from actual experience. You get your feed right, let's lower, cost per acquisition, better efficiency, better return on ad spend. So you need the right feed, so that way you can build the campaigns that can really sing. Use the right tools that make sense for your context. And the best time to have figure this out was a year ago. The next best time is now. So no point in looking back in the rearview mirror, look out the windshield. But you got to figure this out. Super high priority. That's it. So, yeah, thanks for your time and joining us. And yeah, please reach out to us. This is our contact info here. Thanks, Jordan, for joining me here in this presentation.
Thanks, Steve.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care.